Okay, let's unpack this. Ever think about a simple slice of cheese? You know, the kind you put on a sandwich or melts perfectly on a burger. Seems like just a basic fridge item.
Yeah,
But what if I told you it's actually part of this huge multi-billion-dollar global industry? Today, we're doing a deep dive into the global sliced cheese market.
exactly. And we're basing this on some really comprehensive data, exclusive insights from cognitive market research presented by Market View. We're not just talking numbers here. We want to get into the sheer scale, the surprising growth, and what's really driving this market. It's way more complex than you might first think.
Right. That's the mission today. We want to pull out the key trends, look at some genuinely surprising figures, and really understand the factors pushing this massive industry forward. By the end, you'll see why this market, this specific market, is so interesting and what it signals about, well, global consumer habits. So let's kick things off with the big picture, the global market value, because these numbers, they're pretty eye-opening. We're talking a valuation of over $23 billion back in 2021. 23 billion. And here's the kicker. It's not just growing, it's really taking off. Expected to hit nearly $29 billion by 2025. And then, looking out to 2033, a projected $45 billion. That's a compound annual growth rate, a CJR of almost 5.8%. For just sliced cheese, it really puts the scale into perspective, doesn't it? That's a massive piece of the dairy world.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
And a lot of that momentum comes from established markets. Take North America, for example. It's already a huge market, over $6.3 billion in 2021. And it's projected to keep climbing, getting almost $11.5 billion by 2033. A big part of that is, convenience. Sliced cheese just fits so well into busy lifestyles, quick meals, snacks.
Makes sense.
And within North America, no surprise, the U.S. is the giant. It accounts for the lion's share. We saw $5.16 billion there in 2021, heading towards $9.3 billion by 2033.
Wow.
Yeah. Canada's significant too, of course, around $744 million in 2021, projected over $1.4 billion. And Mexico also shows solid growth, starting around $400 million, aiming for over $750 million by 2033.
Okay, so North America is clearly a powerhouse, but you mentioned established markets plural. Let's swing over to Europe. How does it stack up?
Europe is right up there, very strong, very mature market as well. It pulled in over $7.1 billion in 2021 at the projection, or $13.5 billion by 2033, so significant growth there too.
17.5 billion. Okay.
Yeah, and what's interesting in Europe is how widespread it is. Germany's huge, about $1.4 billion in 2021, projected to hit $2.8 billion. The UK, also very strong, just over $1 billion in 21, heading towards almost $2 billion. Then you've got France, close behind the UK, around $912 million, growing to $1.6 billion.
So the big economies are really driving it.
They are. Italy and Spain, too, showing robust figures. Italy around $718 million back then. Spain slightly less at $683 million, both projected to reach around $1.3 billion. Reflects that, sustained demand for convenient dairy options. Russia's on the list, too, but the growth is noticeably slower. Around $395 million in 2021, projected to reach about $629 million. Different dynamics there, perhaps.
It's interesting comparison.
And it's not just the big countries. We see contributions from places like Sweden, nearly $500 million in 2021, aiming for almost $1 billion.
Yeah.
Denmark, Switzerland, even Luxembourg show steady growth, albeit on a smaller scale. And the rest of Europe's category collectively adds a significant chunk too, growing from $873 million towards $1.7 billion. It's really across the board.
Okay, Europe is clearly another major slice, pardon the pun. But now let's talk about Asia Pacific. You hinted at big things happening there.
Yes, Asia Pacific is, it's where you see some really dramatic expansion. The region accounted for $5.8 billion in 2021. Solid. But look ahead. It's projected to hit over $12.5 billion by 2033. More than double.
Wow, okay. What's fueling that kind of jump?
It's a combination of things. So rapidly growing middle class, increased urbanization, and definitely the adoption of more Western-style diets. And again, that convenience factor becomes really important in fast-paced urban environments. China's just dominant, huge. $1.8 billion in 2021, but projected to explode to over $4 billion by 2033.
$4 billion from China alone.
Yeah. Japan's also a very strong, consistent market, about $922 million in 21, heading towards $1.8 billion. In India, this is one to watch. Really rapid growth. Started at $667 million, but projected to hit $1.6 billion. That's a huge leap. South Korea is on a strong path, too, looking to cross the billion-dollar mark. Australia, Southeast Asia collectively.
Southeast Asia, like Singapore and Taiwan.
Exactly. Singapore starting around $191 million, going to $434 million. Taiwan, $322 million, heading towards $671 million. And the rest of APAC as a group, also shows a really significant rise. It's a powerful surge across the entire region.
This incredible growth trajectory in Asia Pacific. Okay, let's keep moving. How about South America? Is it a similar story?
South America is definitely a growing market, though not quite on the same scale as APAC yet. It was valued around $1.5 billion in 2021, the estimate for 2033, just over $3.1 billion. So it's still doubling, roughly.
Still doubling, yeah.
And the drivers are similar, changing diets, more demand for convenience as economies grow. Brazil leads the way there, about $566 million in 2021, projected to cross $1.1 billion. Argentina and Colombia are also key contributors, both showing strong growth patterns. Peru, Chile, they're smaller markets, but definitely expanding too. It paints a picture of steady expansion across the continent, really adopting these modern food trends.
Fascinating how consistent that convenience theme is globally. Okay, next stop, the Middle East. What's the picture there?
The Middle East generated just over $1.2 billion in 2021, and it's expected to nearly double as well, reaching over $2.4 billion by 2033. Saudi Arabia is a major player, contributing over $350 million in 2021 and heading towards $710 million. Turkey also shows strong growth, expected to more than double its 2021 figure of $212 million.
Yeah.
Then you have Egypt, the UAE, Qatar, all significant contributors with similar upward trends.
And the drivers. Still the same mix?
Pretty much. Rising incomes, a generally young population, and that growing taste for packaged convenient foods. Processed dairy fits right into that.
Right. Okay, that leaves one more region for our world tour, Africa.
Africa. The market there was just under $1 billion in 2021, about $967 million. It's projected to essentially double too, reaching around $1.9 billion by 2033. Like parts of Asia, this is a region with really high growth potential. Urbanization, population growth, evolving diets, they all play a role.
Which countries stand out?
South Africa is a key contributor, being a more established market within the region. It started at $336 million, projected to hit over $700 million. Nigeria also shows a promising trajectory, expected to double its $136 million figure from 2021. And the rest of Africa category adds a substantial amount too, indicating that the demand is becoming more widespread.
Okay, so we've gone continent by continent, seen these huge numbers, this consistent growth almost everywhere. If you had to boil it down, what are the main engines driving this global sliced cheese machine?
Well, connecting all these regional pictures, the source material really highlights a few core things consistently. First, just strong, persistent demand growth. It's happening in developed markets and developing ones. Second, as we've touched on a lot, it's about shifting dietary preferences. People globally are leaning more towards foods that fit busy lives. And sliced cheese is, well, the epitome of convenience food, isn't it? Quick breakfast, easy lunches, snacks.
Absolutely. The ultimate convenience food.
Yeah. And finally, you can't ignore broader global dairy trends. The whole infrastructure and market for dairy products support this kind of expansion. So it's that mix: convenience, changing tastes, and the underlying strength of the dairy sector. That's why this market keeps expanding so reliably.
It really is amazing. You take something so simple, so every day a slice of cheese, and find this multi-billion-dollar global engine humming away and growing consistently. It just goes to show even the most seemingly basic items can tell these really complex, dynamic stories about the global economy.
It absolutely does, and it leaves you with something to think about, doesn't it? How does this massive growth in something like sliced cheese reflect bigger shifts in, well, how we all eat, how we shop, how we think about food quality versus convenience, especially when you see these trends playing out so differently, yet similarly, across all these diverse cultures and economies? The story of sliced cheese might just be a window into the modern world's pantry.
That's a great point. It definitely makes you wonder what other everyday things are hiding these huge, fascinating market stories. Well, thanks for joining us on this rather cheesy deep dive.
Welcome back to Deep Dive. This is where we take a whole stack of information, really dig in, and try to pull out those key insights, the things you actually need to know. And today, we're looking at something that honestly might sound a bit everyday: the global sliced cheese industry.
Right. Seems simple.
Exactly. But I promise you, it's packed with fascinating stuff about global economics, health trends, even sustainability. It tells a bigger story. So our mission today: uncover what's really driving its growth, what's maybe holding it back, and what trends are shaping where it's headed. And all this insight, it comes straight from some really thorough data and analysis by cognitive market research.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing how something like sliced cheese, sitting in millions of fridges,
Yeah.
can actually tell us so much. It's like a little barometer for these big societal shifts, whether it's the slice on your fast food burger or in a kid's lunchbox. Understanding this market gives you a direct look at how convenience, health, and spending are all changing.
Okay, let's get into it then. What's really pushing this market forward? The research pointed to convenience, obviously, but maybe not just in the way we think. It seems like the big rise in single-person households is a huge, often kind of overlooked factor. People want perfectly portioned stuff, no fuss.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's not just busy lives, it's how households themselves are changing. Make sliced cheese super simple for sandwiches, burgers, or, just grabbing a quick snack. Still a total kitchen staple, homes and restaurants alike.
Absolutely. And if you connect that thought, there's this massive boost coming from, the explosion in fast food, the quick service restaurant industry, QSRs. As these chains spread globally, especially, you see it a lot in developing economies, their menus lean heavily on sliced cheese, both processed and natural. The data really shows that's pushing demand hard.
So it's more than just cities getting bigger.
Oh, yeah. It's the adoption of Western diets, Western eating habits. It's turning sliced cheese from maybe a novelty item into something people expect daily in many places.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. And beyond just being easy, what about innovation? The research mentioned that's a key driver too. We're
Yeah.
seeing loads of new types, right? Flavored ones, functional ones, like low-fat, lactose-free, even fancy herb-infused or gourmet slices.
Right.
It's not just yellow squares anymore.
Exactly. And that innovation, it's really smart strategically. It's not just about taste. It's about catering to very specific needs and preferences, dietary restrictions, people wanting a more premium feel. This broadens the whole product line, pulls in new customers who maybe wouldn't have bothered with the standard stuff before. It's meeting a much wider range of demands.
Okay, so those are some strong tailwinds. But, it's never quite that simple. What about the challenges, the hurdles? Here's where our deep dive gets really interesting.
Yeah.
What did the research show were the main barriers?
Well, one big one, and it's growing, is the whole health perception issue, especially around processed foods. A lot of sliced cheese, particularly the very processed kinds, are seen as being high in sodium, maybe saturated fats, artificial stuff. And that perception, our research shows, is definitely pushing some health-conscious consumers towards alternatives they see as healthier or more natural.
And it's not just about what consumers think, is it? There are industry pressures too, like volatile costs for raw materials, milk prices jumping around.
Oh, absolutely. That's a huge factor. Milk prices can fluctuate wildly. The data we looked at, for instance, showed a big spike, over 18% late last year. Those kinds of swings mess with the whole dairy supply chain. They squeeze producers' profit margins, sometimes by, several percentage points, and that hits the smaller guys the hardest. Makes it tough to keep prices stable.
Okay, so cost volatility. What else?
Then you've got the practical stuff. Logistics, storage, shelf life. It's tricky. Sliced cheese needs constant refrigeration, careful handling all the way through. That dependence on a solid cold chain, well, it really limits where you can effectively sell it, especially in regions that don't have that robust infrastructure yet. Getting it to consumers safely and efficiently is a real barrier in some places.
And something we definitely can't ignore, the rise of vegan options. Dairy-free cheese alternatives seem to be everywhere now.
It's undeniable. And it's not just a tiny niche anymore. It's a significant shift. Whether it's people choosing full plant-based diets or just managing lactose intolerance, it creates direct, strong competition for traditional cheese. It's genuinely reshaping how people buy and eat. Manufacturers have to react.
So we've got the drivers, we got these hurdles. Putting it all together, what does the future look like? What are the really interesting, maybe even surprising trends shaping things to come?
Yeah, looking ahead, one thing that really stands out in the analysis is this move towards clean label and organic. It's becoming huge. Consumers want transparency. They want simple ingredients they recognize, fewer additives, clear organic labels. That's gaining serious traction. And it's forcing brands to really rethink everything: formulations, packaging, how they talk about their supply chain.
And how people buy it is changing too, right? E-commerce, direct to consumer, online groceries, these little specialty cheese startups. They're making it easier to get a hold of premium stuff, niche varieties, stuff you wouldn't find in a regular supermarket maybe.
Yeah, exactly. It's democratizing access in a way. High-end slices delivered right to your door, bypassing the old retail paths. And that links right into another big trend: Premiumization, this growing interest in artisanal or gourmet slices.
Like fancy aged cheddars or different milks.
Precisely. Aged cheeses, goat milk, sheep milk, even buffalo milk slices. It's not just for, super wealthy household foodies, home cooks. People are looking for more interesting, complex tastes, even in something as simple as a cheese slice for their sandwich. They want an elevated experience.
Okay, and the last big trend the research highlighted, packaging. Sustainability seems key now.
Definitely. It's way beyond just being a buzzword. Manufacturers are actively moving to recyclable, even biodegradable materials. It's partly driven by environmental concerns, regulations sometimes, but also because consumers care. They want brands that align with their values, brands that are trying to reduce their ecological footprint. It's becoming a real selling point.
So quite a journey then. We've looked at what's pushing the market, like convenience and QSR growth, the challenges like health concerns and logistics, and these emerging trends, clean labels, online sales, premium options, sustainable packaging. This deep dive, really digging into the cognitive market research data, gives us a surprisingly clear and pretty nuanced picture of where sliced cheese is going.
Yeah, and if you take a step back, if you connect it all to the bigger picture, it really makes you think, doesn't it? How will your choices, maybe seeking out organic, trying plant-based, wanting less packaging, and all this ongoing innovation, how will that keep shaping not just the cheese aisle, but, the whole landscape of convenience, health, and sustainability in our food system?
Something to chew on, right? The next time you grab a slice of cheese, maybe pause for a second. What new perspective do you bring? What connections can you see now to innovation, global demand, environmental impact, things you might not have even noticed before, sitting there in your fridge?
No,
Makes you think.